before the movie.
What are we doing today? Wait,
We're going to see the Sonic, our Lord and Savior, the Sonic the Hedgehog.
Not Morbius?
Not Morbius, no.
You sure?
Yes, 100% sure.
Do you like my Sonic shoes?
They're not.
Hey.
Sorry.
Who is?
Just about. But it's very good.
Where are your Sonic shoes, Dominic?
I don't have Sonic shoes because I like to be practical about footwear.
This is practical. Tell me one way in which this isn't practical. Right, let's go get our tickets validated. Yeah. Shortly after the movie. Okay, so the wait is over, and it didn't feel like that long to wait, all things considered. Partly because it didn't really feel like there were any years at all between Sonic the Hedgehog movie 1 and Sonic the Hedgehog movie 2, but I can now safely say that I have indeed seen Sonic the Hedgehog 2, because I live in England and we get it a few days before America, so take that, go celebrate Thanksgiving or something, you Yankee losers. So my good pal Dominic is here with me in my apartment right now. He came all the way down from Scotland to come and see this film with me. So that goes to show that for us this was an event, and there was a certain amount of hype for this film to live up to. And right now he's just in the corner playing Sonic Unleashed and silently judging me, smug fucker. So recap, you might say I'm something of a Sonic fan. And I, for one, really enjoyed the first movie. It felt like a solid little prequel to sort of the Sonic mythology and such, and it didn't feel too ashamed of its source material. Dumb! Put your fucking phone on silent!
Sorry, man.
From the get-go, I thought, yeah, this looks like it's going to be much more of a Sonic movie than the first one was. Obviously, you know, you got the CGI live-action hybrid movie. Usually the focus is more on the human characters. As when you have these cartoon characters running around, you kind of need that straight man, that person for the audience to relate to a little more while the cartoon characters are running around and doing their stuff. It's kind of seen as like a display of a little bit of cynicism, but I think the first movie balanced it really well. Moving into this one, this is much more Sonic's movie. Not only is Sonic not the only one of the funny animal critters that live throughout the Sonic universe that show up in this one, obviously he's accompanied by Tails and Knuckles the Echidna. Which is quite a big deal as they were pretty much absent from the previous one with the exception of appearances from Echidnas at the start of the previous film and Tails making a cameo after the credits. I don't really care that that's a spoiler for the first film. If you haven't seen the first film by now and you're watching a review of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, you basically deserve death. But yeah, this film, right out the gate, much more Sonic-y, even down to the fact that Dr. Robotnik is sporting his classic Dr. Robotnik video game design for the entirety of the film this time. That doesn't mean that the human characters in the human world are thrown to the wayside this time, though. They're in there, just not as much as the last time. Sonic is kind of going on this adventure with Tails, and we're kind of seeing some of the sort of fish out of water stuff being done with Tails, and this time Sonic is guiding him through that in kind of a similar way to how Tom guided Sonic through that. And then meanwhile, on the other end, we've got Robotnik and Knuckles, which is kind of like the reverse Tom and Sonic from the first film in a way, in that they're kind of the bad guys. Now, okay, I gotta talk about this because obviously this is the first time we've had substantial appearances from Tails and Knuckles in this film version, and this is quite a radical departure from the world of the Sonic the Hedgehog video games. This is a very different sort of vision, so naturally Tails and Knuckles are going to be handled a little differently to how they were handled in the video games, which is for the best because lately the video games have been handling them the way I handled dog poo. I ate it up. I wish that allegory were a little further from the truth. But I mean, hey, I'm a Sonic fan. I'm pretty used to by now shoveling shit down my throat. But it's safe to say that Sonic didn't have quite such a rough transition to the big screen, and the same can be said for Tails and Knuckles. First things first, Knuckles. This is the absolute closest we've come to Knuckles having his classic Knuckles personality in decades. The gullible, noble, honorable Echidna warrior is back, and in full display in this film, and I think Idris Elba does a really nice job lending a voice to that version of Knuckles. I think this is the first time that the voice has suited that version of the character, whereas the games have gone down more the route of him being kind of a blockhead. Through to a military general for some reason. I don't know what Sega are doing with these characters. I don't think they know what they're doing with these characters, but Paramount sure as hell seem to have a good grip on them. There are some of those blockheadisms to Knuckles in this film, and they are done tastefully, but they never feel like an actual detraction from his character. Moving over to Tails, who was quite a major attraction for this film. It was quite a big deal that Tails was going to be here. He was the thing teased at the end of the first one. I won't lie, I do think Tails gets ever so slightly drowned out in the whole thing. But that really is just because there's so much going on in this film. For starters, like, throughout the first act, you do get the sense that it's like this film has quite a bit on its plate. There's quite a lot that it needs to take us through to make this story work and to introduce all these new characters. It's by no means a bad thing, but you can tell there is quite a lot of setup going on in that first act. It's all done in a really entertaining way, though. Like, they never at any point in the first act feel like, okay, they've got to do this to set this up. It all feels deliberate, it all feels sound, and it all is enjoyable. As for Tails' character himself, he is a big upgrade from the Tails that we've had in the video games lately. He's pretty unsure of himself, he very much looks up to Sonic, and they kind of do go with the whole origin that he had in the games of that he was someone that was kind of following Sonic around and wanted to kind of get to know him and looked up to him, but it's done in a way that really well weaves it into this universe. It's a lot more layered this time around, but it's like, this Tails is very unsure of himself, which is quite akin to the tales of like Sonic Adventure 1, for example, but at the same time he is very competent as well. We see a lot of his gadgets get put to good use, and it has to be said, he's a badass in this film. This is kind of the quintessential Tails personality. This very much feels like Sonic Adventure 1 Tails. I was a little worried about how Sonic's characterization would feel in this one, because in the first film he was very much this ADHD little kid who also had a lot of anxiety, self-doubt, and depression, which obviously he works throughout that first film, which was quite a departure from the whole, whoa, Dr. Eggman, totally cool dude, whoa. But obviously that Sonic has developed, he's become a bit more confident in himself. However, he still has lots to work out in this one. There's still quite a bit of self-doubt to him. He's not that overly cartoonishly cocky, arrogant sort of character. He doesn't have a grasp on the situation at absolutely all times. He does have sense of sort of weaknesses and vulnerability, but you know, he's still got the wise cracks and the like he's cocky, but he's not cartoonishly contrived cocky, you know? That layered character that we had in the first film is still present in this one, which is something I was concerned about, and I'm pleased to see that it has kept that same level of quality that it had the first time. In fact, a lot of the humor this time as well is a little better than it was the first time. Like, there's still a lot of referential humor, like, hey, you know this movie? Sonic knows it too, you know? Like, there's quite a bit of that, not as much as last time. And then there's Robotnik himself, and again, the first time around I was quite impressed at Jim Carrey's performance as Dr. Robotnik. It never felt like he got lost in Jim Carrey's performance. That is a thing that can happen, is that he's such a larger-than-life personality, a larger-than-life actor, and sometimes the character can get lost within that. Fortunately, that doesn't happen once again. The writers, the directors, Jim Carrey himself all have a really strong grasp on who Dr. Robotnik is supposed to be. And I've heard numerous folks saying that he's in this film less than he was the first time, but I'm not really sure about that. I think he was in it easily just as much.
There was more!
Okay, thanks, Dom. If anyone can validate that, that would be great. Once again, Jim Carrey has become that more Dr. Robotnik character. Like, his appearance change has come with a slight personality change. He is that bit more bombastic, and he's much more present for the adventure this time. He's not lurking in the shadows or hanging out in the back of a truck this time. He's getting in on a lot more of the action, and we got plenty of Sonic versus Robotnik to go around in this one. Great. Everything that Sonic fans loved about the first film is here, and it's been given like 10 shots of steroids. And this is truly an action movie through and through. It is absolutely full of action set pieces that just go one to the next, and it's a really nice thing to see, because I feel that Sega themselves have lost a little bit of track of what makes Sonic so great. It's not comedy, it's action, and this is an action movie from start to finish. It's very high energy, and I think that for the most part, it is paced really well, because they do make the most of the action in this one. I was sometimes worried, it's like, okay, these action set pieces that we see in the trailers, how long are they going to be in the actual film? No, there's plenty here to chew on. And you can tell that Jeff Fowler is having a great deal of fun directing these action scenes. There's so much more of it this time. It's on a completely different level to what the first one was in terms of action, and Jeff Fowler absolutely nails it. Now, I'll say this, it isn't perfect. It's not an entirely perfect film. There's one scene in here which I call the piss break scene. This is the scene where you go and take a piss. And you could take a long piss. There's a point towards sort of the end of the second act where Sonic and his friends are not on screen very much. It's mostly the human characters. And it goes on a bit longer than it needed to, and it feels a little jarring considering how much of a Sonic-centric film this has been so far. It's by no means really bad, but I won't lie, there were times when I was kind of tempted to check my phone. And it's really only in this like 5 to 10 minute long stretch here. This is the one weak link of the film. It's just the one bit that I would say could have been cut down. Everything else here is really well paced. It doesn't move too fast, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like anything really outstays its welcome other than just this one particular scene in there. But after that, the film really ramps it up into high gear. Now, I've been thinking quite a bit about like some of the Sunset City episodes that I've done with Nick, Suris, and Wallace, and kind of how like some of the conversation has been speculating what elements from the games will be in there. I'll say this, there's lots of surprises in store for you in this film. But don't expect it to be like a one-to-one recreation of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Don't go expecting there to be music from the games in there or anything like that. There's a clear love for the source material, but they're not jacking themselves off to it. I do think they could afford to go just a little bit further with it, but at the same time, I think they do have it just right. So on a whole, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is quite a different animal to the first one. There's plenty of references to that first one, and a lot of really nice thematic links that really go nicely. But like, it's an entirely different genre. The first one was sort of a buddy cop road movie. This one is an action-adventure movie. And it's like the ideal action-adventure film to take your kids to as well, but at the same time there's plenty here for adults to enjoy too, including a couple of somewhat near-the-knuckle jokes, all things considered. And put it this way, while there were a lot of kids in my screening, there were also a lot of adults in my screening that all seemed to be having a lot of fun as well. So would I recommend it as like a family blockbuster? Absolutely. Would I recommend it to Sonic fans? Again, absolutely. Is it better than the first one? Yeah, I'd certainly say so. It's just a much more confident and exciting film altogether. So yeah, I absolutely loved Sonic 2. Dom, what did you think of it?
It was amazing.
Alright, thanks. Very succinct. Alrighty then. I don't know how to end this now. So, yeah, the usual, I guess. So what do you guys think? If you enjoyed this video and you want to support more like it, be sure to hit that big, beautiful subscribe button. And of course, in the description below are links to different social media feeds, including the Patreon. If you're feeling extra generous, like the following people, who are JK Strife, Marcus Ward, Sirius the Skeptic, Biotinarts, Mr. SP, David 20 Covers, Sergio, John Comey, Shodin, George is Lost, Legendary Ray Ray, Cheesemaster769, Adam Myers, and Fayalan Schwarzenkraut. Thank you guys, you are the best of the best, but as for the rest of you, thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day.